Is the economy going to crash in 2025? A lot of people are talking about this. There is a lot of markers and indicators of a big crash, of a huge downturn that is potentially coming up. And people are tying this up right now in the conversation with a potential end of the bull run, of the crypto bull run. So those conversations are intertwined now. And there's a lot of uncertainty. People don't know what's going to happen as we're looking ahead into 2025 in this uncharted territory with regards to the world changing, the economy changing, everything, as you can see globally, going into these new configurations. What does it mean for the economy? What does it mean for finances globally, but also for your finances? What does it mean for the crypto bull run, which I know a lot of you are very excitedly engaged in and invested in personally, and very, very personally affected by. So what better thing to do than at this point to get into the tools that we have, the astrology tools for economic astrology, financial astrology, crypto astrology, to get some answers on these questions. All right, let's get into it. The economic and financial and crypto astrology forecast for the first part of 2025. That's what we're going to do in this video. I got to say to this as a preamble that I'm a little bit under the weather. I think you may notice with regards to my energy levels, but I cannot withhold this information from you nonetheless. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to decode the cycles that are going to give you some more clarity and understanding of what's coming. Now, I know a lot of you are especially interested in crypto, so you may be expecting, okay, let's look at the crypto markets. Where are the crypto markets going to? But right now, the situation is in a way that we cannot look at the crypto markets in isolation from the broader economic markets, right? They're connected. They're really, really intertwined. Not just because there's much more TradFi and CFI traders now, there's much more traditional big money now in crypto, but also, well, you will see as we go into this video, there's so many dynamics going on with the Fed and interest rates and CBDCs potentially coming in, the Trump administration having to weigh all of these different things. And all of those things really will impact the crypto markets as well. So we have to look at the broader economy. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to first go through the current situation, what's happening on the markets. And then we're going to look at some charts to shed some light on the coming phases, the next couple of steps. And then eventually, I'm going to give you an exact idea of how Q1 and Q2 specifically of 25 are going to pan out, right? So this is a big video, important video. Make sure to watch it all the way till the end, right? Okay, so before I get into it, I'm going to recap for you, for maybe those who haven't seen my videos before, or maybe those who have only seen a few of them. Just like, you know, it's important to do this from time to time. Just kind of recap what we did last year, 2024, and all the things we got right here on this channel. So we started 2024 when I relaunched this channel in March, April 24, with really accurately calling the local top, the local cycle top, which was in March, April 2024 in crypto. Then we went on and recalled the exact week from which in September was 24, when the market started moving upwards again after a long period of like sideways motion. Then we called the Trump election victory, obviously, right, months before, several months before, and the impact this was going to have on crypto. I called on this channel, I called XRP. Just before, weeks before it started, it's that crazy parabolic run that nobody expected. Weeks before that, on this channel, I called XRP as one of the best performers of this cycle, of this whole current crypto cycle, crypto bull market, right? And, you know, I was at a time when a lot of the so-called experts didn't have XRP in their portfolios. They didn't talk about it. There's like dino coins. Oh, you don't know about crypto if you still hold these dino coins. Okay, now who's laughing, right? So, and I know a lot of you are in the same boat with me here because you understand the power of the narratives and the visions are so strong with some of these projects, which makes them so interesting, right? XRP being one of them. Now, I called the MicroStrategy risk, right? That was around MicroStrategy or Michael Saylor in a video here on this channel. Just a month before it actually, MSTR stock actually went down 50% in December, right? And I exactly had called December as a really risky time, and I had advised my viewers here to not be exposed to MSTR, right? Which was also happened here on this channel. And right after that, it went down 50%, right? So it's important to say these things so you know, from time to time, we need to catch up and do some record keeping and just get the record straight with what we've done here, right? But that being said, none of what I'm going to say now, even though the track record is there, but none of what I'm going to say now obviously is financial advice for anybody, right? God forbid, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm sharing with you here my analysis, my models, my, interpretation. And, just to answer also somebody at some point wrote a comment here and they said like, this is really irresponsible. Why are you giving people hope, or why are you giving people pretending to know the future about the markets? Nobody knows. And so somebody was writing a comment and I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is, this is my personal strategy. I have literally skin in the game. I make my trades based on this model, right? And I'm sharing with others. Just everybody has a model. I have mine, and it's based on the cycles, the patterns, and the archetypal cosmology, which is the best tool in order to understand the psychological cycles of consciousness that impact the markets, right? Doesn't mean that it's infallible, certainly not. But I'm sharing this because it's educational and informative, and because I want input and insights from you when you answer and when you comment. By the way, comment, please. Make sure to comment. It helps with the algorithm, boost the videos, and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Now, okay, let's get into it. Now, when we look at where we are right now, 2025, we started, and we did not have the Santa rally a lot of people were expecting for the last year, right? For the end of the year. We didn't have the Santa rally, and now the markets are in a little bit of a difficult situation. S&P 500 is showing some very bearish signs, bearish head and shoulders, pattern that a lot of people are looking at with a lot of fear. This could break down. And the Fed came out and announced that there will not be as many rate cuts as expected in 25. People were expecting 4. There's only going to be 2, apparently, right? So borrowing costs are going to stay higher much longer, right? Which is not necessarily good for the crypto markets in general, for liquidity. Now, Trump is going to come in, and what is Trump going to do? Trump is, in some ways, obviously we know his administration is the most like pro-crypto that we have ever seen before, and he wants lower interest rates. He wants to kickstart the economy, right? He's called like he's more of an inflationary guy. He wants the economy to get kickstart. He is going to be directly opposed to what the Fed is doing, right? So this is going to be one major theme of 2025. Fed versus Trump, right? And I called that out in previous videos, even directly with the personal astrology, Jerome Powell versus Trump, and then Trump's whole mission and what he stands for, again, versus the globalists, who kind of the Fed belongs to that camp. You're going to ask yourself, who's the Fed actually serving, and so on, right? So this is going to be one theme, one major theme, standoff. There's going to be a major standoff in 2025 between the Fed and the new Trump administration. And it's going to have huge repercussions for the markets. Just keep this in mind. When we get to the charts, I'll tell you how and when exactly. The second theme is Saturn-Neptune. Okay, Saturn-Neptune is the main constellation that we're going to have this year. Right? There's going to be a major Saturn-Neptune conjunction throughout several months this year, right? It's the central thing, the big thing this year. And Saturn-Neptune, it stands for what? It stands for, Neptune is the dreams, right? On an economic plane, the dreams, the visions, the speculation. Saturn is the reality check that brings things down to the ground and makes you, like, forces you to have grounding, right? Otherwise, the dreams are going to burst and they're not going to be able to fly any longer, which is obviously the primary image of a bubble bursting, right? Bubbles bursting. So for the last 13 years, starting with 2012, Neptune has been in the sign of Pisces, coming through the sign of Pisces for 13 years. Neptune is very strong in Pisces. So dreams are very, they're very auspicious. They're very, the cosmos and the cycles of the universe and of existence, they're very positive towards great dreams. They're not being questioned so much. So you're going to have a lot of speculation, a lot of big dreams, a lot of big vision. It's okay to have that. That time is now changing. It's starting in 25 with Saturn coming into Neptune and saying like, no, now everything is going to get checked and reality tested. And then afterwards, Neptune is going to Aries. So the dream is going to have to be much, much more practical and pragmatic, and they're going to have to be turned to action right away, right? So this, obviously, this image is very, very fitting archetypically with what's called the bursting of the economic bubble. A lot of people talking about an everything bubble, which could be these last 13 years of Neptune in Pisces, building up to an everything bubble, the dream getting bigger and bigger, the speculation getting bigger and bigger. Excuse me. As I said, I'm not really on the top health-wise, on the top of my game today health-wise, but so Ray Dalio is one of these guys, right? Ray Dalio, well-known investors who talked about an everything bubble and a potential bursting of the bubble in 2025, right? So what are we talking? Everything bubble. Everything bubble is literally everything: real estate, bonds, stocks, right? Equity, private equity, venture capital, even crypto, right? According to some perspectives. I'm going to come back to that later, right? We're actually going to be impacted by the everything bubble, right? Is it possible that crypto is impacted, or does crypto have its own rules, right? Does crypto have its own rules? Crypto obviously is currently on a historic bull run, absolutely historic, like starting, looking like people are talking about, 500K. I mean, even when you look at all of the estimates from very established kind of experts, right? The capital managers who have like their own teams that make predictions, they're all looking at 200, 250K average top, for BTC in 2025, right? And that would mean obviously altcoins going another 5x, 10x from where they are right now, right? And that's it looks like when you look only at the crypto factors, the factors are absolutely bullish. What you're seeing coming: mass adoption, AI agents, right? And regulations completely changing for the better. Obviously, strategic reserve, Bitcoin strategic reserve, right? Starting with the US, potentially then everywhere else. But now the macro factors, right? As I said, macro factors about a potential everything bubble, they could come into play, and they could mess up the party big time for crypto. It's a real possibility, right? It's a real possibility. It's actually very, very likely. I'm going to tell you later when we look at the charts when exactly and how I'm expecting this to play out. But it's a very real possibility that the macro factors come in as like a party poopers, right? And they destroy the part. They bring down the crypto bull run in 25 big time, right? So in order to understand when and how such a thing could happen and what it means for the cycles, right? We need to look at the charts. There's several charts we have to look at. I'm going to start with showing you a chart for the Trump inauguration, okay? The Trump inauguration. This is the Trump inauguration. This is in basically very soon from where we are now speaking in early January. Mid-January is now, and this is 20th January, right? So the Trump inauguration, you have here on the one hand, I mean, this is going to be a difficult presidency, very difficult presidency, right? With a lot of fighting, with a lot of headbutting, right? But what's important here, you got with Neptune here, the dream, right? With Neptune, the big dream, you got America and Satoshi, right? America and Satoshi. Israel is there too, but that's another story, geopolitical story, right? But America and Satoshi are together in this inauguration, right? So Trump is going to come in with the dream of like bringing Bitcoin to America. This is part of his mission, and it's clearly written in here, right? Also, Industria is with Goldman. So strengthening the industry of the people, bringing industry back to the people. Moon is the people, right? Is also part of this, right? Dream. But it's very clear here, there is a dream, right? This is actually going to be more of his priority is going to be to bring industry back to US. But there's clearly a dream here of the crypto capital of the world, right? The US will become the crypto capital of the world, is what he's saying, right? And this is huge. This is not small, right? This is huge. Then when you go ahead and see what happens next, So after the inauguration comes, and then shortly after the inauguration in February, right? In 29th of January, actually 9 days after, we have the moon, the new moon in Aquarius. Okay, so new moon in Aquarius. This sets the tone for February, basically. All right, so the new moon in Aquarius, right? So we got the new moon, and you're gonna like this, right? So you're gonna love this. Look at this. You got the new moon here, right? Aquarius, this is gonna be a time of great faith and belief and technological innovation right after the inauguration. It's in a trine to Jupiter, okay? Trine to Jupiter, so it's going to be super generous and positive, the energy. The vibe will be very expansionary and positive immediately after the inauguration. And now look at this. America is exactly with Satoshi, and it's exactly on the North Node. What does the North Node stand for? The North Node stands for realization, stuff that gets manifested into material reality because it's karmically necessary at that time. That is the North Node. So you have this here. So you have America with Satoshi on the North Node, right? So America realizing the dream of Bitcoin, okay? And Venus is there too, right? To make money. America realizing the dream of Bitcoin to make money, right? Is here in what? With the Aquarius moon, right? And Mercury is coming into Aquarius. And at the same time, all of this is in trine to Jupiter, right? In a trine to Jupiter. So getting generous boosts as well. So I'm going to translate this for you. This is immediately after the inauguration. I'm going to translate this for you. As I've been saying on this channel since months, the inauguration will not be a sell the news event. On the contrary, this inauguration will be a buy the news event. Why? Because immediately after coming to power, you will see shortly in the first couple of weeks, he will make big announcements. There will be huge announcements in February for crypto. Really big announcements, right? So I know there's a lot of FUD right now around the selling, the DOG selling, some Bitcoin that they seized. They seized some Bitcoin from Silk Road, and they're going to try to sell it and so on. This is not, this is just basically FUD created around, oh, this may not be possible, no strategic reserve, and so on and so forth. But there will be a strategic reserve. There will be a strategic reserve, and I will be not surprised to see this announced with very concrete, clear steps in February, which is going to send the price in crypto. This is February, right? So going into February, it's going to be very clear that if you were now worried about a 15% correction, thinking that, oh no, the bull run is over, and so, okay, no, you don't know crypto, you shouldn't be in crypto if you're worried about a 15% correction, right? Like, this is normal, very, very normal. This is not even a normal correction. A normal correction is 20, 30% during a bull run, right? So February, after the inauguration, we're going to see very, very positive time with all-time highs, very fast, very quick for Bitcoin and the crypto markets. But now, what's next? Let's look at our next step, right? Because remember, we're looking at the whole next period here, not just immediately like the next 1-2 months. We're looking at the whole next period here, right? So what's next? So the next notable thing that we have coming up is that we get a eclipse, a lunar eclipse in March. And I've heard a lot of people being very worried about this. Okay, a lot of people are being crypto astrologers on X and elsewhere, right, on YouTube, being very worried about this. Even some of my YouTube followers, some of my commenters have been saying like, oh, this is going to be very bad, and so on when the eclipse comes and so on. Why are people saying this? Because the eclipse on March 14th, right, this is the eclipse, it falls on the 23rd degree of Virgo, and this is, when you look at the Bitcoin chart, this is exactly the Saturn of the Bitcoin chart, right? And at that same time, Saturn, transiting Saturn, will be up here, will be on the Uranus, right? So this looks worrisome for some people. They're saying, oh, there's going to be an eclipse, and the eclipse falls exactly on the Saturn. Saturn is not so good. Everybody's always afraid of Saturn, right? So let's see where this is exactly, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. So there we go. It's on 1, 2, here. There we go, right? 14 roughly, okay? Some hours back and forth, okay, but you get the idea. It's here, okay? Here's the eclipse. It's going to be on the Uranus and on Saturn, okay? So this Saturn-Uranus opposition, we have to understand better what it is. It's not every time that Saturn is involved in something, it's bad, okay? Saturn comes here, transiting Saturn comes here on Uranus and says like, okay, now you need to tell me what you have done exactly in terms of innovation. It's a test. You're going to be tested, and we're going to see how viable your innovations are for the real world. That's what Saturn does when it comes. It tests everything, right? And at the same time, Saturn opposes the natal Saturn, right? So this is a testing time. And in this testing time, you have the eclipse coming here. Okay, but what does it actually do in the chart? So when you look at the astro chart of Bitcoin, the natal chart of Bitcoin, and you bring in the asteroids, right? Which is what I always do to get deeper and more nuanced than 99% of other astrologers. When you bring that in, you're going to see here that this Saturn, you see here this Saturn, it's on monetas, with moneta and credo, okay? Monetas and credo. What is that? Belief, credo is belief, and monetas is money, right? The belief in money. So Saturn, when belief, the structures that are established through the faith or the belief in money, right? That's the Saturn. And what's the opposition? The opposition is Uranus. This is the Bitcoin chart, right? The Genesis chart. Uranus with Excalibur and Kaiser. So the innovator who is the king of all innovators, right? And has the sword that brings him infinite power or the unique power. Only Bitcoin has this power. Only Bitcoin has the power to bring down the faith in the structures of money. This is literally what's written in the chart. This is what's written archetypically in the cosmic chart of Bitcoin, right? And this unique power to bring down the faith in the structures of money is going to get tested in March, right? With that eclipse, with that constellation, and with the eclipse coming on it, is going to go into the next phase. It's going to go in the next phase. When eclipse hits you, it says that, okay, now karmically, now some big story happened and you go in the next phase of your story, right? So what does that mean? This could mean people lose faith in crypto. People lose faith in Bitcoin, in the worst case. In the positive case, this could also mean that the faith in crypto as a real currency suddenly becomes a thing. So I'm not seeing this eclipse negative necessarily. It's not necessarily negative at all. It just means that when you have the eclipse on there, it means that whatever is constellated there is going to go into the next level karmically. It's going to unfold. And the story unfolding, in this case, could simply mean that Bitcoin finally becomes accepted as a global reserve currency after the eclipse. And this is a real possibility. Just think about it. Trump administration bringing a strategic reserve, and then that's the next thing that happens, right? And then, so you're going to say now, okay, so this looks all absolutely crazy bullish, right? Absolutely crazy bullish for crypto. What about the rest of the economy? And because this is what I said at the beginning of the video, everything is intertwined now. It's really, really intertwined now. And it needs to be, right? Obviously, we can't look at things in isolation. So what happens next is very, very important if we want to understand what's coming up next, right? Where things are going. We need to understand the constellations that are coming right after that. So this is in March, right? So as I said, the eclipse, I'm not looking at it as something negative necessarily. This could mean it could mean a shift in the narrative, in the global narrative, which is positive, right, for crypto. Now, what comes right after is that we're starting to get the Saturn-Neptune conjunction here, okay? The Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And what do we say about this? This could potentially mean the bursting of the bubble, right? And right after this, in the same energy, with the same move, we get a square of Jupiter. Jupiter goes into the square with this, okay? So you see Jupiter is here. Jupiter goes into a direct square of this constellation, right? And this is a very, very, very worrisome constellation. Very worrying, right? Very worrying. So I'm going to tell you what it is. First of all, I'm not so much worried about the eclipse, right? I actually forgot one thing in between, which was the potential re-eruption of geopolitical tensions. We got the Mars-Pluto opposition coming in April. I'd be much more worried about April geopolitical escalations, right? Because there's other geopolitical stuff happening too. So I'll be much more worried about that bringing down markets, right? But even if it does, okay, momentarily, some wars breaking out, right? Risk going up everywhere, right? But what's really bad, or what's really, really much, much worse still, is what we just saw here in June, okay? And what is that? That is a marker of bubbles bursting combined with economic blockages and breakdowns. Bubbles bursting combined with economic blockages and breakdowns. Okay, this is really, really bad. Okay, this is really bad. And this is going to be bad for the economy. This is a primary marker of the economy basically being called out, like the speculations, the dreams, the over-leveraged and overextended, overpriced assets, right? Whether that's real estate, whether that's whether that's bonds, whether that's other types of securities being called out for this type of overextension, right? Being called out, and then what happens next? Well, you get a correction. You get a crash potentially. You're gonna get potentially it depends on, in the US context, it depends on, we gotta come back on what does the Fed do. Okay, what does the Fed do? The Fed, as we saw, they're gonna be trying to control this. They're hawkish. The Fed is trying to have tighter monetary policies, right? Higher interest rates to control the economy. But this itself could lead to a liquidity crisis with forced sell-offs, with margin calls, liquidations, all of that type of cascade that we typically associate with crises, right? Economic crises. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen exactly in June, because I had a look. I have investigated other crises before, like the dot-com bubble in 2000 and the 2029 Great Depression. Oftentimes, when you have, it depends, right? It depends. Sometimes you have like a Black Tuesday kind of thing, like 2029, right? But even the 2029 Depression, Great Depression, it was actually over 6 or 7 years, and you had a couple of different constellations coming throughout that whole time, from 29 all the way to, right, started with 29 with the Jupiter-Neptune square, and then, which was the highest point of overextension, and then from there onward, it just comes lots of different things, and it takes multiple years, right? Same with the dot-com bubble in 2000. It was actually 2 years. It took 2 years, and you had a couple of different constellations, right? It's not an immediate kind of thing, because sometimes these structural things happen inside the economy, and then it takes some time to play out. It takes time to play out, right? But because otherwise, it would be crazy if we could call the exact month and exact day like that something happens. But nonetheless, what I just said, it's a very, 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 very real possibility for 25, right? And people will be able to see it, especially in hindsight, that we're going to have such overextension, like massive overextension, overpriced assets, and we're going to have a big crisis, which eventually leads to these massive sell-offs, and the traditional markets all going down, markets going down. Now, the question is crypto going to go down with the markets? With, let's say real estate goes down, real estate markets, stocks go down, right? And stocks, the question is, are we talking about all stocks or tech stocks specifically? Yes, no, because tech stocks seems to be very correlated, directly correlated currently with crypto as well, right? And we need to look at another factor here from the astrology in order to answer this. And that factor is that right after this constellation that I just talked about as the bursting of the bubble, right, in June, we have a very interesting, very positive sign for tech, okay? What is that? Namely, Uranus goes into Gemini, right? Uranus goes into Gemini in August, and then shortly after, Uranus goes conjunct the first degree of Gemini, which is a very important star, fixed star, Alcyone, okay? Alcyone stands for something becoming very famous. It's a royal fixed star. It stands for whatever that energy is, becoming extremely globally famous, highest level of global fame, right? And Alcyon is Uranus stands for what? Uranus is technology and crypto, right? So what we have here in the summer of 25, by August, come August, is a sign of technology, crypto and technology becoming extremely famous, becoming extremely, riding on a super high wave, right? And this is somehow bound into this constellation here in the talent triangle as well, with this whole thing about bursting the bubbles, right? Bursting bubbles. So how does this make sense? How can this make sense? How can we have a sign of somehow an economic crisis, and right, like a crisis, a crash of sorts around June, like give or take around that time, and a bubbles bursting, right? The Fed coming in, trying to control and regulate, right? And the Trump administration maybe trying to counteract that. And then after that, right? Shortly after that, we have a massive rise to fame of technology, right? Of technologies. This could be tech stocks, or this could be obviously crypto, right? So the way that this makes sense, the only way that I'm seeing this make sense, and this is how I expect things to play out, is that we are going to have a decoupling in 2025. We're going to have a real decoupling, right? We're going to have a real decoupling, and this is my scenario. This is what I'm expecting to happen. So I'm expecting around that May-June time, right, to have potentially with April, potentially with some geopolitical tensions, May, June, with some real bad economic news, really, really bad economic news, right? And some cascade of sell-offs here and there, some structural weaknesses being discovered all across in different markets, right? And then we will have a bad time for all markets, including crypto, going down. Everybody talk about crypto is over, bull run is over, right? The bull run is over, sell now, it's over. If you don't get out now, you never have a chance again, and so on. And then, surprising many people, we should have another resurgence. Another resurgence, but this time only of crypto. This time only of crypto, not of the traditional markets, right? And potentially of tech stocks. So we're going to see a decoupling of tech stocks and crypto versus traditional markets. And obviously, crypto, the main narrative for crypto, one of the main ones, with Uranus going into Gemini, is going to be what? It's going to be AI agents, right? AI agents. And AI agents, at the same time, are going to be at the very forefront of tech as well. The agentic AI economy and so on is like massive, and it's the biggest thing for 2025. And obviously, this kind of makes sense if you think about it, that in 25, the first steps are going to happen for the traditional economy being replaced with a robot and AI-centric economy, automated economy, right? Automated economy. So the economy gets automated. A lot of traditional work, a lot of traditional, employment and industries are going to have huge problems. And Trump is going to stand there in the middle trying to, so this will be super difficult for Trump. On the one hand, so there's actually two dynamics here for Trump, right? By the way, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to this channel. I forget to say this sometimes, so I need to say it, right? Subscribe to the channel. Comment on the video. It's very helpful with the algorithm and with everything else. And also to hear your views, to have a real community and a real conversation. Also, if you have not looked into it yet, there's still, I think only today still, is available the master forecast for 2025, which only today right now comes along with side a 40-page Ascension report that is individualized and personalized for yourself. You can find the links below to see that for yourself. Go and check it out. Now, how this can play out, again, in the big picture and in the clashes that are going to determine this year, how I see this play out is that, okay, Trump administration is going to try to bring tariffs to protect the industry, right? And going to go against this whole movement with the Fed. The Fed is going to be super central. The battle around the Fed is going to be super central this year, right? I haven't even looked, I haven't even shown you all their activations in the Fed chart and the chart of Jerome Powell and so on and so forth. It's going to be major, prime time, major news throughout the year, the battle of Trump versus the Fed. And then what can happen is that the Fed is going to look to introduce CBDCs, right, in 2025 with Uranus in Gemini, not just the US Fed. A lot of states globally are going to start introducing CBDC. CBDC gives the central bank control over the economy, right? Control, they can program into the money usage models and how when it gets withdrawn, they get a lot of power over money, right? They can basically counteract the government's fiscal policies if they have that much control over money. And Trump, he's already said, I'm against CBDC. What he's going to go in for to counter the power of the Fed or the power of CBDCs potentially coming in is an alternative model which will instead valorize US dollar-based stable coins. So Trump government is going to double down on US dollar-based stable coins as a way to assert, to keep up US dollar hegemony globally, not directly through US dollar, but through stable coins, right? Through stable coins. So obviously, it's another pointer for you. Invest in stable coins, right? There's now several stable coins that you can invest. You can actually make money from, right? Not just holding. I'm not talking about just holding USDT or USDC, right? But actually, there are stable coins that you can make money from, right? You can earn from, right? So it's a very, very, very promising field as well, and it's going to be a massive battle. It's a massive battle. Obviously, there is still the case that what if the economy crashes, really crashes? What if actually you do have a Black Tuesday kind of scenario around June or May or whatever, right? And the economy goes down, really goes down, right? Obviously, in that case, you can't even save the crypto bull run anymore, because if everything goes down so hard, people will sell. What can they sell? What is liquid? What do they have to sell? Is the Bitcoin, right? They will sell their Bitcoin, and prices will go down, right? So in that case, there is a possibility that the crypto bull run will be canceled, actually, right? Will be canceled after April, and it's done, right? April and it's done, right? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. But in the case that, as oftentimes it has been in history, where the economic crisis, it just doesn't come right away. It's like every crisis that I have looked at where you had those constellations, it was you get that constellation, things change, and then it takes a couple of years, or it takes a year or two until it plays out with later constellations. Like, it's not just immediate. So in the case that it's not immediate, but it's like structural, and it's gradually, systemically going down, gradually kind of winding down, slowly, right? In that case, we can see the decoupling, and we can see another massive resurgence of crypto and tech stocks in summer of 2025. That's my model that I'm working with. That's my model that I'm personally working with for 2025. Again, this is the best model possible that I can see right now. If I see changes coming up, if I see more information, if I get more downloads and I see other things evolving, we're going to talk about it on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed on here. Let me know on this, in the comments, how you're going to play this market, how you're seeing some of these things. We can create some collective intelligence on it and share and all make the best moves so we thrive in 2025. I wish you personally that you thrive and you make the right moves for yourself and your family. And be well. And I'll see you in the next one. Be blessed.